Hello everyone, this is Limpho from ASA, and in this video I'm talking about diversity visa requirements. So I did this via my Facebook community, so let's get started. Now about the ground rules for this training or this event. So I will go through the presentation for 30 minutes and then I'll allocate another 30 minutes for Q&A. So if you happen to have a question along this training, then please leave your questions in the comment section so that I will attend to all your questions during the Q&A session. And one thing that I want to make clear is you can use a link that is linked above this video's description that will land you in the application that we will be discussing today. So having said that, now let's talk about this opportunity. So I know I've shared this opportunity on my profile in this group and in different social media platforms, and I wanted for you guys to take this opportunity and take action, and it's a really good opportunity. So today we are talking about DV Visa 2020. So DV Visa 2020 is an opportunity for people from so many countries to say, and the state government gave us this opportunity to go live in the US and work in the US. So this is a free application, and as it has its keyword lottery, you make an application and you will be selected via the system that the state government uses, which is a random selection system. So as I go through the application requirements, then you will clearly understand what I mean about this random selection criterion that the state government uses. So let me talk to you now about the requirements for this application. I hope that most of you have already gone through the application link and have already seen what this this opportunity entails and how to go about applying. So as I already said, it's a very short application for a visa, and it's free application. So just a disclaimer before I get started: if you have happened to come across this link or this opportunity, say on social media or any other online platform, and say you happen to have seen that there is an application fee that is related to applying for this opportunity, guess what? That is a scam. So this application is 100% free, and you shouldn't be paying anyone for any services related to applying for this opportunity, unless you know that you are applying under an agency, and those application fees will be for that particular agency's administration fees. Otherwise, this application is free, and you shouldn't fall prey of any scams, because there are many scams out there. So make sure that when you go through this application, use the official website, which is the www.dvprogram.state.gov, which I shared above this video. Like on this link above, there is a link to this application. So make sure you don't fall prey of scams. Anyway, moving on to the application requirements. The first application requirement that you have to meet as an applicant is you have to have a minimum of high school diploma or equivalents of high school diploma for US US education. So if you have a high school qualification or high school education, then you are eligible to apply for this opportunity. And when we say high school diploma or high school equivalence, we mean 12 years of elementary to high school, which is basically what we go through here in Lesotho, as well as other African countries. I'm sure they go through the same educational 12 years of elementary to high school education the same way we do. So if you have that, then know that you are eligible to apply for this opportunity. But if you do not have the high school diploma qualification, you have to have 2 years of work experience in the last 5 years prior to applying to this opportunity. And that is an exception for people who don't have the high school diploma qualification. So that's that for the education part, and that's the first requirement that you will have to be able to qualify for this opportunity. So the second requirement that we have to possess is a valid passport. So as you may already know, you're going to need to have a passport to go and live in the US. So during the application process, you need to have a valid passport. You need to have a valid passport as a pre-requirement. Also, the third requirement is the application registration period, which is from October 7th. So the application opened from October 7th through November 10th. So the deadline is on November 10th. So make sure you apply during this application period. So usually the DV visa program is usually open every year on October to November. So it's like a 4 weeks application period, and you need to apply during that application period. Otherwise, you will have to wait for the other year to apply. Having done through the registration period, then we should be talking about eligibility countries. So for you to be able to qualify for this opportunity, you need to be from an eligible country. And I'm going to read non-eligible countries for you guys. So if you don't hear me mentioning your country, then know that your country is eligible to apply. So the non-eligible countries that we have are Bangladesh. If you are from Bangladesh, you are not eligible to apply. Brazil, Canada, China, including Hong Kong, Colombia, Dominican Republic, El Salvador, Guatemala, Haiti, Honduras, India, Jamaica, Mexico, Nigeria, Pakistan, Philippines, South Korea, UK, except the Northern Ireland, and Vietnam. So the reason why these people are not eligible, people from these countries are not eligible to apply for this opportunity is because there are already 50,000 natives from these countries who have already migrated to the US. So they are giving opportunities for other people from other nations, so that so if you are from these countries that I just mentioned, then you are eligible to apply. But if you are from the countries that I just mentioned, know that there's an exception for you. So if you are from these countries that I just mentioned, but you want to apply anyway, then there are exceptions that you can claim. And those exceptions are only 2. So the first exception being that you need to claim your spouse's country. So if your spouse is not from the non-eligible country, then you can claim your spouse's country and apply using your spouse's country. That way, that makes you eligible. Also, if your parents are not from your the non-eligible country, then you can claim your parents' country status and use that as your country, and that way that is an exception that the state government approves. And that is all regarding the eligibility countries. Moving on to the actual application process. So this is a very short application process, which is about 1 to 15 application questions, which I'll go through later in this live. But this is a very short application, just as I said. Like, I think the maximum time that you can take applying this to this opportunity, I think it's 10 minutes or less. As long as you have all the requirements that they need, then you are good to go. So okay, so once you apply for this opportunity, then make sure that once you are done with this application, make sure that you save your confirmation number. So once you are done with the application, they will give you a confirmation number. So once you're done with that, make sure that you seriously save that confirmation number, because that's the number that you're going to use once you are selected. And usually there will be a lot of people who lost their confirmation numbers, and you don't want to be in that pool of people who lost their confirmation numbers and having to go through rigorous emails with the state government, acquiring a new to be resent your confirmation number again. So make sure that you have your confirmation number saved once you're done with this application. And the last requirement that I'll be talking about before moving to the application questions is that you must submit a single entry. So since this is a lottery, as it says, quote and unquote lottery, people usually submit multiple entries, and that is highly prohibited. So you must submit a single entry, and usually if you submit multiple entries, the state government uses a system that detects people who submitted multiple entries, and your application will be disqualified. So you want to make sure that you only submit a single entry, and you want to make sure that you don't get disqualified because of submitting multiple entries. So that is that, considering the requirements that I have. So I will now be sharing with you the application questions that you need to have these things in place so that your application process is smooth and quicker. So what you're going to go through while filling the application is that you are going to have to submit your full names. So I know there are people who possess one name from other countries mainly. So if you happen to have just one name, fill that name in the last family name section, not in the first name section. So the first question that you're going to have to go through is to submit your full names. And as I just said, if you happen to just possess one name, make sure you fill that on the last family name, not on the first name. And then you're going to have to fill gender, and this is obviously male, female, or non-conforming. And then you're going to have to fill out your birth date. That's question number 3. So I'm going through all these 15 questions that you will have to go through while filling the application. So you will have to fill your birth date, which is question number 3. Question number 4 is the city where you were born. So the city where you were born is obviously the city within the country that you live in or that you were born in. And then the fifth question is the country where you were born. And then the sixth question is country of eligibility. So country of eligibility is obviously going to be the country where you were born, unless you are from a non-eligible country and you will be claiming your spouse's country or your parents' country. But if you don't fall under that category, then this will be the country of your birthright. And then you're going to have to submit your passport. That is why I mentioned earlier that you need to have a valid passport as a requirement. So you are going to submit your passport bio section, which is basically your passport number, the passport issue date, and the passport expiration date. And then the eighth question is your entrant photographs. So I'm aware that some of you have already mentioned that the link that I supplied in the description of this video is not active. I will make sure that I correct that error. But as you go through that link and land in that website, there are photographs, samples that you need to take a look at so that you are able to submit accurate entrant photographs. So you need to make sure that you look at the guidelines that are shared on the site so that you know that your photographs dimension match what is required for you to submit your entrant photographs. So make sure before submitting your photographs, make sure they match what is required for the entrant photograph section. So before you submit this application, you need to have the photographs ready, and make sure that if you are applying as a family, make sure you have photographs for everyone, because you need to insert all those photographs during this application process. So make sure you have everything for your family. Say you are applying as with your husband and your children, then everybody has to have their own photographs taken, and they should match the dimensions that are given here. Moving on to question number 9, you need to supply your mailing address. So this is obviously straightforward. And then question number 9 is the country where you live today. So say now you live in another country, but you were born in another country. You need to mention that as of today, I live in this particular country, but I am born in that particular country. So make sure that you do not mix match this. And also question number 12, in fact question number 11. Question number 11 is asking for your phone number. That is optional, but you can still enter the section anyway. And then question number 12, they need your email address, and make sure the email address that you are going to use for this application is an email address that you have access to, because once you are selected, that is how you will be notified of your selection status, as well as your interview dates and interview related information. So make sure when you enter your email address, you enter the email address that you have access to. And moving on to question 14. Question 14, you have to enter your current marital status. So this question is also very critical for people who are married. So make sure that you mention your spouse. Either is a wife applying, make sure you mention your husband, especially if you are from eligible country. So the state government will disqualify you if you did not mention your husband, or if you if you are a husband and you did not mention your wife, so your application will be disqualified, especially if they go through the system and realize that maybe you guys are using the same family name, and maybe you have listed the same children under the children section. So make sure that when you list when you are answering to question 14, make sure that you mention that you are married if you are married, and you make sure that you mention your spouse in the section. Also, that acts as an advantage, because if you will be applying and mentioning your husband has to also apply using a different application form, and that increases your chance of being selected. So moving on to the last question, which is question 15, you need to specify the number of children that you live with, that you have. So this is your biological children, your adopted children. So all these details that under the children section are clearly described in the guidelines that are given. And that is all for the requirement, guys, and that is all for these questions that you have to go through while filling the application process. So it's that easy, it's that fast, and I hope you found this video helpful. And I think I took less than 30 minutes that I had initially wanted to take. And now I will be going through your questions. So I will be reading questions from the beginning. Put in your questions in the comments so that I can go through your questions. So the first question, let me see. The first question is from Victor James Steven. So Victor says, hello, I'm Victor Matunda from Kenya. Thank you for creating this page with the main aim of giving the youth chance to utilize opportunities. I would like to know if this is all about Lesotho citizens, or is it open to everyone from other countries? Oh yeah, so Victor, this is open for everyone from any country. So I know the demographics of people in this group. We have majority of people from Lesotho, and then we have South Africa, we have Botswana, we have Swaziland, we have Kenya, and then we have Asia. So from Asia we have 2 from Vietnam, if I'm not mistaken, and then we have and then we have another 2 from Mauritius. So that's the demographics. And then we have let me check. Oh no, I didn't save that stats here, but those are the demographics that I can remember as of now. So I know a lot of people have been joining this group in the past 2 days, so the demographics might have changed, but as of now, what I remember is we have the countries that I mentioned to you. Alright, so Caesar says the DV program link is not accessible, please assist. Okay, Caesar, I will make sure that I correct that once I end this live. Matao says, could you please go over the photo question again? Alright, so what I said during the photo section is that you need to make sure that you have the photo size or photo dimensions as required per the application requirement. So when you go through the application link and go through the photographs guidelines, you will see that they have sample dimensions of photographs that they accept in their application. So make sure when you take your photographs, those photographs match or meet the criterion that they use on their site. So usually what they are looking for is a neutral background, which is the background that I have right now. That is a neutral background. And also they mostly prefer a white background. So you can take your own photos, or maybe you can go to a photographer and have your photos taken. But either way, that is certainly possible to do it yourself. But in case that you don't trust that you will master those dimensions and everything that has to do with photographs, then you can ask someone to take you the photos or go to a photographer. So I hope, Matau, I answered your questions, and if I didn't, then I will go through it again after answering other people's questions. Am I able to? Okay, so Mashanalo Tulo asks, am I able to include my children even if I'm not married? Yes, so you are able to, in fact you are requested to include your children even if you are not married. So yes, you are supposed to include, because obviously if you are going to live in the US for 10 years, then you're going to want to live with your children, so you need to include them as well. Replying to, okay, so Tsapo, I will make sure that I fix the link error once this live is done. So Feline Zolo asked if the application is free. Yes, I mentioned in the beginning of this application, that in the beginning of this live, that the application is 100% free. So Susan Mpopo asks, do the family members also need passports and passport numbers while applying? Yes, so everyone who will be entered into this program, like say you're the children section or the spouse section, they will need valid passports. But the person who will be supplying or who will be entering their passport information will be the applicant, which will be you. So you and your spouse will be the ones who will be supplying the passport details. But when you apply, make sure that you and your children have passports while you apply, like valid passports. I hope I answered you well. Malitie asks, I would like to talk to you. Can I contact you? Alright, so I left a link above this video as well for people who would still have questions even after this video, to book a call with me. So I'm not making anyone pay for that call. So you can book a WhatsApp call with me or a Zoom call. I am free for that. So I have also included my calendar, which explains the time slots that I'm free. So if you want to talk to me after this live or any other day after this live, then make sure you book a call with me by using the link in the description above. So I hope that is clear. The next question is from Mpho. So Mpho is asking, if one gets selected in the program, would they be able to continue their studies abroad, or is it purely about work? So basically, when you are selected, this program, so basically once you are selected and you have passed your interview, you will be considered a US, I can't say a US citizen, but you'll be living in the US legally through this visa permission. So you are eligible to work, you are eligible to study. So I hope that answers your question, right, Limpho? So you can choose to work, you can choose to study. But just bear in mind that you being able to live in the US means that you'll be able to financially support yourself and your family. So if you'll be studying under, say, scholarships, that is still fine as long as you live legally in the US and you are financially supporting yourself and your family. So that's just what is required. Bobo is asking, is it possible to change from being a working class to a full-time student under this? Is it possible to change from being, I think what you are trying to say is being a working class to a full-time student under this program? I'm not sure if I understand this question, Bobo, but I think what you're saying is it possible to go to the US using this program, and then once you are in the US change to a full-time student? That is still confusing, but what I can say is once you live in the US, obviously you're gonna live there for 10 years. So yes, you can be able to study, but you need to have regulations, or you need to meet the eligibility for an F1, which is people who go study in the US. So the visa that they use is usually F1 or H1. So you need to be able to meet that eligibility criterion still possessing this DV visa. So yes, it's possible to be a student while possessing the DV visa, while under the DV program. I hope I answered you right, because the question was really confusing. Letia Tapo ask, may you just state through, though it's a tricky one to say specifically where some hefty amounts may be included directly in this application. Okay, during the application process there are no fees related. The whole application is free, and for you to secure the interview, that is also free. So during the process before selection, there is actually no money related. The issue will be after being selected and going for an interview. Then you will need to show during the interview that you will be able to support yourself in the US, you and your family. So that's the only issue that might be a hindrance for other people, but I don't highly agree with that, because one, majority of people from Lesotho are entrepreneurs. So if you're an entrepreneur, I think that is a skill set that is needed in the US, and you need to show that maybe you can be able to generate a certain sustainable income whilst living in the US. So that would be the money section of this application, of this whole acquiring the DV visa. But as you do the application, there are no fees related. So I hope I answered your question, and I hope I answered your question right. If you found this video helpful, then make sure you give it a big thumbs up, and make sure you are subscribed to this channel, because I'll be sharing opportunities related to studying abroad, related to landing jobs, either remote or abroad, and locally as well, because I have my local audience. So expect that kind of content. So see you guys on my next one. I hope you enjoyed, and see you next time. Bye.